So let's start with the get filled in into the books for laborers tutorial. So how does this work in scenario? First things first, you've got all of your books over here. Well, not all of your books, but I've got loads of books. And I've been filling them up and everything else. And the idea behind them is that they produce a resource pack based on the book you're using. First thing, you've got the Generalist Trophy. This book gathers fame from anything you do. So if you by chance are doing something, in an instance, farming on the back of your island, that fame doesn't affect any of the other books and goes directly into the Generalist Trophy. Meaning, oh, I want to do some sort of gathering, I want to do something, but I want still to level up my Adventurers line, which is where the Generalist fame comes in. I can do so, but remember this, the gathering books are better. So as we start and go inside, I've got several of my workers over here working. These are mercenary workers, and what you can do with them is they are producing stuff for me. This is a full-on fitted on tier 7 house, but I'm fitted on full-on T6. They have happiness. This happiness is what makes them work. You're gonna understand this happiness in a second. For instance, as I grab back the book that they just produced, it produced me 2008 silver. Some of the tooltips over here are incorrect, and I'll explain the reason, but it's not to fear. It doesn't produce negative amounts, or it's not giving you enough. It will give you more than it's actually saying. So I'm taking this back, the book comes back to me, and I can drop another journal. This guy is a tier 7 on the top, is nearly reaching tier 8. What happens as a tier 7 is, as an explanation, I can drop its regular tier 5 mercenary book, which is what I was trying to do, and on all of them, you can see that it has 150% produced scenario. He is a high level guy, but 150%. How this 150% is calculated is based on the happiness that the worker has. If, for you to produce 150% on a certain book, you need to have a house that is a tier above the tier of that book, have the table, have the bed, and have some trophies. Up to tier 6. I have one extra here, but up to tier 6. And it shall produce 150% for that resource if the worker is tier 6 and above. Doesn't matter if he reaches tier 7 or he reaches tier 8 and it doesn't have stuff that's tier 7 or 8, it will continue producing a tier 5 book. For instance, on this case, perfectly fine. If I had a tier 6, I could represent this on the mercenary, but all the books are the same scenario, so if I put a tier 6 generalist, you can see that it won't produce the same 150%. Even though it is a tier 7 worker, it is a tier 7, it's a tier above the tier 6, but it will not do that. Of course it does produce with a higher chance, like 130% is quite nice, and this is exactly what it's going to do. It produces from 1 to 2 of the trophy for the generalist in case. And the same principle goes here. It produces 3012. Pay attention to this. Trophies are correct. The tooltip 1 to 2 is correct. On some of the books are not showing the correct tooltip. On this case, mercenaries on a tier 5 book will produce 2008 silver minimum, with a 50% chance of them producing double, giving you 4012, not 3012. So there is that. I'm going to put this guy to work. That's what he does. He disappears and vanishes, goes to work. If I click on him, it will show for me as the owner, they are on a job for me. For anyone else who will show, they are on a job for Phly, which is my character. This is the amount, but this does not mean that, for instance, you can't come here with your alts and purchase journals, or if you by chance have access to workers from other people, you can still buy journals on them regardless. That is fine. Another scenario that you're gonna find yourself in is what happens when it finishes work. Once it finishes work, this is what's gonna happen. Only the person who put him to work will be able to obtain back the work done. But that does not mean someone else, if I come here on my alt, cannot use this guy. Meaning, I can reach here exactly one second after he has returned with another character that is not this one, and I can put him to work. Oh, but does that mean I will lose everything here because the worker just went to work again? No, your main character comes over here and can pick up the resource even though he is not here. The only thing I have to say as well in this case is when you pick up the resource, it levels up. There's a slight color difference on that green bit on the top. That's the fame it's getting, and it only obtains that fame once you take the product produced from him back. In this case, as you can see, he produced a 4016 silver that I mentioned. So I picked that, it now solidified that color, and it has obtained its fame. Same thing, putting all of them to work, same principle. So I could put the other scenarios, so you can see that the tier 7 over here, it sucks right now. It has a chance of not producing that one. It has a 5.71% chance of not producing this lovely little trophy. But in case I don't want to use that necessarily, generalist trophies, main use of them is leveling up the worker, or filling up when you don't have anything to put on the worker. In this case, I will continue using my mercenary journals because I have a lot, and then that's one of the things. Another principle, mercenary journals for the mercenary produce a lot more than the trophy journal for the mercenary. So the mercenary trophy journal, which is a specific one that they have the mercenary trophy journal, same thing as the gamekeeper, the guy based on leather. He also has a specific trophy, so bear in mind on that. When you can purchase these on the marketplace, you can make a mistake. So as you've done your research about which ones you're gonna have, I always have mercenaries because it's easy for me. I fame farm. Now I'm gonna do the same principle on all of the others, and I will show it to you. Same thing, but this guy has a 130% chance. Although, doesn't mean he's gonna produce that. It means he's gonna produce 2008, or 30% chance of doubling that to 4012. So the tooltip is wrong. See, 2008. This guy will probably have 4016, not 12, 2016. Got it. And he is the same thing, tier 7, not a problem. The reason why this guy being a tier 7 here doesn't have the high quantity when producing, doesn't have the 150%, is because I have a freaking tier 5 table and a freaking tier 5 bed. If I had a tier 6, also this house is tier 5. If I had a tier 6, then yes, he would produce. Although, you can see he has the same extra happiness from the trophies. And that is caused because I have 4 trophies of mercenary, which produce 10 happiness for 3 labors of its kind. So that is already 40 on those. And I have these Adventurer's Handbook, which only produce 5, but it's for any kind of laborer, up to 3 on the house. So I've got 4 of them, an extra 20, and then it adds up and becomes 60. So it is preferable for you to have, if you're going mercenaries or a gamekeeper, to have their specific trophy. Right now, putting them to work, fine, no problem. Reaching the next house, I have several tier 5 houses where I do the same thing. Because of fame farming, I make a lot of mercenary journals, and I can keep these guys on constant production of silver. Mercenaries produce silver, gamekeepers produce leather. You've got all sorts of workers, you just need to find them out. This, on the other hand, is going to be a different case right now. I am reaching a specific worker that has been introduced now. It's a newer worker. It came with a season 2, put it this way. So at the start of this season. And it's the Fisherman. The Fisherman goes beyond belief on the books. Reason is, and I will get to that later on, it produces, this is a tier 5 Fisherman producing a tier 4 book. And it's giving me back from tier 2 to tier 4 resources. This guy produced any amount of these resources, in a sense, at random. There's no specific reason. You're always gonna have a chance of, you're always gonna have a tier 4, tier 3, tier 3 special, tier 5 special if it's a tier 5 bulk, and all kinds of things. So he is producing 4, 7 tier 2 normal fish because they don't have special. Specials are normally on the odd number, so 3, 5, 7. And you've got 1, 2, 3 regular tier 3 fish, so it's not bad. You've got 3 special tier 3 fish, and you've got 6 tier 4s. Although, I do have another book here to show you how much is this person producing. So in total over here, we're going to have 7, 10, 16, 19 fish he produced. But when I put this tooltip, his minimum is 19, max 20 with 150%, just because he is tier 5. If you do a tier 5 book on him, he will only produce that. And as you can see, the tooltip is wrong. It will produce that number of fish, but it won't produce only tier 3. It will produce from the book you're putting, which is at tier 5, below down to tier 2. So you will never necessarily only get what is saying over there. So now what I'm going to do is I'm going to put the freaking tier 4, because then it might level up, and once it levels up, I have a higher chance for the tier 5. There it goes. Now the last workers on this round, same principle. It's my freaking mercenaries doing all kinds of mercenary job. This one is an exception of the rule. You can see now very clear on the top, he is a tier 4 mercenary. And the tier 4 mercenary, once I reach the max, it will level up. I hopefully am reaching the max. This is how it levels up, I think. No, it didn't level up. It appears a button right after you picked it up. But it will only level up for the person that picked up and gave the fame to it. So you've got to level up with this character, in a sense. So now it's tier that, I've got to put a freaking tier 3 book. Done. Go to work. Now we go to the other island, and I have something to show on that. That's particularly interesting. This scroll wheel work. And it's not working. There we go. Okay, on this island I have my stone cutter and I have 2 leather workers. And the leather workers obtain from these statues that you can see, these stuffed heads of animals. These are the trophies for them, which are pretty cool. But this is a tier 6 house, and I've got up to tier 6 direwolf here, plus the tier 6 powered encyclopedia, so the tome. What it does is, this is a stone cutter doing a tier 2 stone book, producing 57 unrefined tier 2 stone. It will never produce refined. What you will want for workers is to constantly put them to work on something, or whatever book you have. In this case, and this case only, for stone, you don't care about the level you put them to work, because stone does not produce rare resources. What I'm trying to explain is, for instance, if I put a leather worker, or a wood worker, or a ore worker, you will want to make sure that you get, at the very least, them to level 4, to tier 4, and then make them produce tier 4 books. Because from these 150% producing this, which yields the 72, which is correct, 72 tier 4 leather, these tooltips are correct on most workers of, like, resources in this sense. It will produce 72 tier 4 leather, but what it doesn't say, this also produces rare, uncommon, rare, and exceptional leather. So it will produce the 0.1, 0.2, 0.3. So when you click, for instance, you can see these leathers right here. This is an uncommon, this is a 0.1, it has a 0.1 on the bottom. 0.2 is blue, 0.3 is purple. And it will yield it back. From all of these, each one of them has a chance of becoming that. So you can be very lucky, which is very unlikely, like winning the lottery, have 72 tier 4.3 leather returning to you from this worker. It's nearly impossible, but it's possible. So I'm putting that one to work, and that guy specifically was a tier 5, I'm putting this, which is a tier 6, to work on the tier 5 book. From its position, he is a tier 6, and he is getting the entire work back from that. Notice the difference in quantity of leather. This one only produces 48, but 48 tier 5 leather instead of the 72 tier 4. So some of these will produce less when it reaches a higher tier. Not a problem, the chance of them producing legendary, rare, ultra rare, whatever the heck, so those 0.1s, 2s, and 3s leathers are much higher and much better than your alone gathering. So now I'm going to go back and I want to describe one thing about the books itself. Each book has a description on being filled. A tier 3 Journeyman Mercenary journal will have a description saying you can be filled by killing NPC of its tier or higher. So, just to confirm a couple of things here, I'm just going to deposit these books back. Done on this case. Produced. If you can see on this side, this is a haul that I obtained 2 days ago. From those 2 workers working for 2 days in a row, I've got 1 4.3 leather, 5 5.1 leather, 91 leathers on this case. So it produces, it's a good chance of producing these extreme leathers, and they are very valuable. Any sort of material from tier 4 and above books. So really useful. I'm depositing these because I tend to. And what I wanted to explain is how do you work around and knowing how to work on the scenario of book-wise. If you obtain fame, sometimes you will obtain a fame like I've just hitted a mob and hitted a monster and killed it and it gave me fame, but that mob is tier 3. If that mob is tier 3, it will only fill the Journeyman Mercenary Journal tier 3 because none of the others will produce from it. In what sense? It has to be a tier 4 mob that you kill that gives fame for this one to open and become the open state of it, which is a partially full. What you want is to organize your inventory from left to right, top to bottom, from it having the books on the highest tier to the lowest tier, left to right, top to bottom. It works on the principle that when you're out and hunting or gathering, you can gather for all of the other books, like books from gathering professions, you can gather from a tier that is leather, for instance, tier 5, which is the tier of the book, and up to 2 tiers higher. Why would you want this to be on the left side is because if you by chance have a tier 4 book with you too, it will fill the tier 5 book first if you just harvested and gathered a tier 5 monster, so a tier 5 animal. And as you're gathering that tier 5, the fame opens the tier 5 book, and then the book becomes open. When it's open, all of the fame that's obtained from that tier and above, well, that it can have, the up to 2 tiers higher, that tier will go directly into this open book and will not open another book until that book is filled and finished. The issue some people have is you don't want to lose a tier 5 resource and fill up a tier 4 book, unless that's your objective. But if you by chance, when you're starting your gathering, if you don't have any books open, always go for the highest tier you can gather first and open the tier of that book first. Because if you don't do that, when you gather a tier 4, it will not open the tier 5, it will open the tier 4, but the tier 4 can get fame from tier 5 and 6, as it says on the description. So once you have an open book, all the fame from tier 5s and 6s will go into the open book first. It prioritizes open books. So you want to have a higher tier open book, then a lower tier open book, one next to the other, left to right, top to bottom. And this way, the fame that goes from you hitting up something and killing or harvesting a tier 5 will go directly to the tier 5 book, and a tier 4 will go directly into the tier 4 book, and you will not make yourself a mess by only filling a tier 4 book and not touching the tier 5s. And you're going to be going back to your laborer and be like, oh gosh, now I don't have tier 5 books to put, I've only have tier 4s. Now I need to go back and gather tier 5. So this happens a lot A lot of people don't understand this. This is a principle that works. So always try to open the books from left to right, from top to bottom, being the highest tier and to the lowest tier. I could even show a demonstration of this outside, but it won't work that well because I need to find specific books. So that's how it works on this principle. Hopefully you enjoyed the video. I know it's a bit confusing. I'm still learning about it necessarily. And as a last thing, I do run myself a guild that's on my alt. The guild name is called Serpensortia, just like the spell in Harry Potter that produces a serpent. And all I do in this guild is I have it in Caerleon based for an extra personal bank chest to anyone that has access to this guild, and I'm never going to revoke that access. And I also have a tier 6 guild hall fully fitted to produce tier 5 books at max 150% return rate, and one of each laborer possible. They are all at work right now, as you can see, and I have all of them over here to the max of their happiness. And if you like access to this, feel free to contact me here on Twitch, on Discord, or even some of the officers of the guild. It's called Serpensortia, and I can grant you access. Either invite you to the guild and you can invite anyone you want, it's open like that, or you can literally just join the guild or just ask for access. As I do here, I give access to lots of people, regardless if they're part of the guild or not. The idea is for it to be a stepping stone for you to understand, be able to purchase books from higher tier workers, so you're never on your gathering without having that book. And also, it's a zero tax silver guild. I will never tax you on this guild. You can join, you can invite anyone, you can participate on this. There will be no tax on silver, and you can just enjoy an extra bank in Caerleon and lots of workers. So thank you so much for watching, and that shall be it for me today. Any questions, please leave in the comments or ask me anywhere that you can find me. Thank you.